This is your 420 Radio News for Thursday, April 10th, 2014. I'm Russ Belville. Iowa Representative Clel Baudler has come out in favor of legalization of medical use of CBD, which he says is not medical marijuana. Representative Baudler has infamously opposed every attempt to pass limited medical marijuana bills in Iowa. He was cleared of an ethics complaint filed in 2011 when he traveled to California and lied about having hemorrhoids to secure a medical marijuana recommendation. He then waved that recommendation around in the Iowa legislature to prove how medical marijuana would be abused, despite the fact Iowa's many bills would never have facilitated the use of medical marijuana for hemorrhoids. Iowa's ethics committee could only address Representative Baudler's action in the Iowa House. They did not have the authority to rule on the fact he lied to get his recommendation, a violation of California law. But now Representative Baudler claims, quote, it's time, end quote, to pass this CBD bill, explaining that he had never heard of cannabidiol until this year. Georgia Governor Nathan Deal is exploring options to provide CBD to patients who were let down by the legislature's inability to pass a CBD-only bill. Governor Deal is considering executive action to allow Georgia Regents University to conduct clinical trials on CBD. However, as Normal's Paul Armentano notes, that capability has existed for decades and requires no new laws. Quote, because CBD is acknowledged by federal regulators to be classified as a Schedule I prohibited substance, multiple federal agencies, including the FDA, DEA, National Institutes of Drug Abuse, and Public Health Service, must all sign off on any clinical investigation of the cannabinoid, a process that typically takes several years. A keyword search of FDA-approved clinical trials using the terms cannabidiol and United States yields fewer than 10 ongoing human trials involving CBD, less than half of which are assessing its potential therapeutic applications. Democrats in South Carolina will be voting on a referendum to express support for whole plant medical marijuana. Representative Todd Rutherford announced that the vote will be held on the June Democratic primary ballot in case efforts to pass his whole plant medical marijuana bill fail this session. Supporters of medical marijuana gathered this Wednesday at the Capitol in Columbia to urge lawmakers to pass the bill, which would allow patients to possess up to 2 ounces of usable marijuana and, surprisingly for an East Coast state, allow patients to grow up to 3 mature marijuana plants. Recommendations by physicians would be allowed for the standard 8 conditions almost all medical marijuana states cover: cancer, HIV/AIDS, cachexia, glaucoma, spasticity, seizures, pain, and nausea. Under the bill, there would also be a patient's registry, medical marijuana cards, and licensed marijuana dispensaries. Child custody, organ transplant, educational, and employment rights of patients would be protected. A new report estimates that legalized marijuana in the state of Rhode Island could reap $21.5 to $82 million in tax revenue per year. The study by the nonprofit Open Doors, entitled Estimated Effects of the Tax and Regulate Legislation in Rhode Island, examined current legislation that proposes a $50 per ounce wholesale tax and a 10% retail sales tax on marijuana sold in just 10 stores statewide. Pat Oglesby, founder of the Center for New Tax Revenue, called Rhode Island's proposals for a per-ounce tax, quote, a significant improvement, end quote, over Colorado and Washington's price-based tax structures, calling it, quote, a better tax plan and more stable and harder to manipulate, end quote. Rhode Island currently has around 7,000 medical marijuana patients, and tax revenue from the state's 2 operating dispensaries has amounted to $137,000 since last spring. The mayor of Boston is, quote, dead set against medical marijuana dispensaries, end quote, in his city, and is pressuring state regulators to find any technicality to reject dispensary applicants. Mayor Martin J. Walsh wrote to state health and medical marijuana departments, urging they, quote, immediately eliminate, end quote, the candidates for the city's 2 dispensaries if, quote, either application is confirmed to be inaccurate, end quote. Speaking at Pleasant Hill Baptist Church in Dorchester this week, Mayor Walsh said, quote, I'm dead set against legalizing marijuana. I was dead set against the marijuana dispensaries, and I was dead set against all the marijuana laws because they are dangerous, end quote. Mayor Walsh explained how marijuana is a gateway drug because friends of his who, quote, started smoking weed, end quote, went on to abuse harder drugs. In 1999, the United States Institute of Medicine stated, quote, there is no conclusive evidence that the drug effects of marijuana are causally linked to the subsequent abuse of other illicit drugs, end quote. This has been your 420 Radio News for Thursday, April 10th, 2014. I'm Russ Belville. Transcripts of 420 Radio News are available at our website at 420radio.org. When we come back, we'll go behind the headlines and take a look at a story in the Chicago Tribune that asks, why are Democrats so reticent to get on board with the rising support for marijuana legalization? You're listening to The Russ Belville Show on 420radio.org. We'll be right back.